All right, guys. So in case you haven't heard, there has been a golden statue of Donald Trump erected at his Doral golf resort in Miami, Florida. And what's really amazing about this statue is that there were pastors present to commemorate it. And they explicitly actually said this is not a golden calf. And I want to say, especially to the pastor, Mark Burns, Trump's informal spiritual advisor, who's backed by the cryptocurrency industry and also running for congressional district and currently, of course, endorsed by Trump, made sure to explicitly say that this statue and blessing had to do with God's protection of Donald Trump's life and wasn't actually a golden calf. Of course, if you know the history of the statue, it is a marketing ploy. It's an advertising ploy for crypto. These two guys, a Canadian and a Steve Bannon guy, created this crypto $patriot and decided if they made a golden statue of Trump at his golf resort, it would become a sort of marketing ploy to launch this meme coin thing they had. And Trump thought it was such a good idea. He replicated himself and made $Trump a crypto and pulled all the investors from $Patriot. So that actual statue has been hiding in a closet for a year and a half while the artist was waiting for final payment from $Patriot because Trump screwed the people who were building a golden statue in his honor, naturally. But of course, it's not a golden calf. Pastor Mark Burns made sure to tell us. So I'm glad he made the clarity. American education is lagging, and it's important to clarify that this isn't the shape of a cow. It's the shape of Donald Trump. And how to handle a golden figure or your leadership replicated in a golden statue. Let's just go right to the good book that Trump was reading right online not that long ago. Let's go to Daniel chapter 3. And in this story, it's a good old story, and a good old Christian kid will know about Nebuchadnezzar, King Nebuchadnezzar, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That's right. See, King Nebuchadnezzar liked himself, and so he erected this giant gold statue of himself. And he kind of told the people, hey guys, when the music plays, I need you to get down and worship this statue, or I'm going to throw you into this fiery furnace. And everyone agreed. The judges, the magistrates, they all celebrated. That's a great idea. They said, this is wonderful. And King Nebuchadnezzar was so happy. And then someone burst his bubble by coming up and saying, everyone's doing what you want. Except for these three losers, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're just refusing to bow down and worship you. And King Nebuchadnezzar was like, I can't have that. So they bring him in. And they're like, King Nebuchadnezzar says, look, guys, you better get down and worship me when the music plays, or you're going to have to go into the fiery oven. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego say this. It's in chapter 3, verse 16. Oh, Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to save us from it, and he will rescue us from your hand, O king. But even if he does not, we want you to know, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. This makes King Nebuchadnezzar so angry, he actually turns up the heat on the furnace 7 times. It's kind of like Princess Bride, like when the king's all mad and it turns up the electrocution on, the cute guy. And anyway, but King Nebuchadnezzar's like, make it 7 times hotter, the furnace. And the oven is so hot that when the soldiers go to throw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the oven, they actually die. That's how hot this oven is. But you know what happens? These 3 people, these 3 little guys that refuse to bow down and worship the giant golden statue, they don't burn. For some reason, these sick weirdos can see into the oven. And suddenly, King Nebuchadnezzar says, wait a minute, weren't there 3 of them? There's 4 of them in that fire. And it's in verse 25, he says, look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, and they're not burning. They're unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods. So they demand they come out, and basically, long story short, 3 of them come out. They aren't harmed, and King Nebuchadnezzar is actually converted to worship the same God that protected Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And I want to point out that Christ showed up to protect those who stood and refused to acknowledge the validity of a golden statue of an existing earthly leader. There is something very wrong about that, and in direct opposition to the second commandment, by the way, which also says, don't make any other, forms or idols before me. Do not serve them. Don't make it of anything on earth, anything in heaven, anything in the waters, right? Like, just don't. And that's normally a pretty strong principle that is run, especially by evangelical Bible Christians. So whatever Pastor Mark Burns is up to, ain't that. And with that, have a blessed day, my friends.